One of the questions we have here, it's from Andrew Cole. Thank you, Andrew. It says, what's one aspect of one documentary that you regret either cutting or emphasizing?
You know, we spend so long, I can't really say. There was a moment in our Jefferson film, it was before the definitive evidence, DNA evidence, that the Hemings family were definitely related to Thomas Jefferson. So there was a kind of this was done in the late 20th century, early 21st century kind of tabloid, did he or didn't he, with regard to Sally Heming, who was an enslaved person that he knew that was in his household. And we interviewed Joe Ellis, a great constitutional scholar, said, everything I know about Jefferson, he couldn't possibly have done it. And we interviewed Madison Hemings, who is a descendant of Sally Hemings, who said, look at me, I've got red hair and freckle face, you know? And it was interesting that John Hope Frank, and then a couple years after the film came out, and the DNA evidence was conclusive, more than 99%. And I thought, gee, we should really change it. And then I remembered that John Hope Franklin, who's a late historian.
Did you think about changing, or did you think, oh, maybe we should have spent more time with the scholars who did believe it?
No. We did honor all those perspectives. So we had a kind of dialectic going. And then John Hope Franklin says, it really doesn't matter whether he owned her, whether he slept with her or not. He owned her. He could do anything to her. He could kill her, and there was not a law in the state of Virginia, in the colony of Virginia, that would protect her. And that was the important thing, that we were getting distracted a little bit by a kind of sexual dynamic in favor of the fact that, well, Thomas Jefferson wouldn't have killed his slave. His nephews murdered one of his slaves because they'd broken a teacup that had belonged to their mother, and nothing happened to them. And this is one of the points we made, so.
It's interesting, you were able to make that point, and I feel like we're in this moment where people who disrupt the established historical narrative, particularly around founding fathers, have a really tough time.
Yeah.
We saw this obviously with the great discussion around Confederate statues, but it has blossomed further into the reaction to the 1619 Project and reaction to what people call critical race theory. But some of what I hear is people saying, that's not how we tell our story. Don't do that. Don't poke holes in that.
Yeah, I've had that a lot almost all my professional life, but it's kind of too bad because it's much more interesting the more complicated it is.
Well, why do you think the conversation is so vicious right now?
Because I think people feel threatened by that. And so, I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, I work in America. The stuff that was happening in our colonies right here 250 years ago exactly feels exactly like today in lots of different ways. I mean, human nature does it. The Bible has it right. What has been will be again. This is Ecclesiastes. This is the Old Testament. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. The same kind of quantities of generosity and greed and virtue and venality and puritanism and prurience, and it's just all there. Everything is there. So you study the past, it's the greatest guide to the present in all of its complexities. All of its complexities.